Look at the world map, honestly. The borders we used to know are starting to fade away. We are standing at a crossroads that many people are too afraid to even acknowledge right now. A massive shift is beginning today, and the old rules of the game are quite dead. Listen to the silence before the storm breaks across the Middle East. Everything is changing so very fast, and I wonder if we are even ready for what comes next. This changes everything fast, and the reality is far more brutal than the news suggests. The warning bells are ringing, and they are coming from a man who doesn't usually play with words. Colonel Douglas Macgregor has issued a shocking warning that we simply cannot ignore. He says that Israel will not survive if the United States fails in its support. Now, think about that for a second. Why would a retired colonel with his level of experience say something so final? Well, he has a history of being right about these things. He never tells us any lies, and his predictions have a way of coming true. He was one of the first people to say that the US and Israel would eventually move against Iran together, but now he is looking at the survival of the state of Israel itself. If the American machine stumbles, if the support vanishes, then the end of an era is here. So what is really happening here, and why is this warning coming at this exact moment? Look, we have to talk about the Strait of Hormuz because the rules just changed overnight. Iran has set a brand new order for one of the most important waterways on the planet. It happened just like that, and the URG is now in total control of the flow. They aren't just making threats anymore. They have implemented a system of regulations. Civilian vessels might be allowed to pass, but military ships are a different story entirely. They must now ask for special permission from the Iranian Navy to even enter those waters. This is the reality now, a new order established by the URG. There is no military solution that can easily fix this without starting a global fire. So, does this move actually make sense for the regional balance of power? The answer is simpler than it looks, because Iran is proving they hold the key to the global economy. The ceasefire in Lebanon is looking like a very sick joke right now. Well, look at the timing of these events. Iran says the strait is open only as long as the ceasefire holds, but reports are already coming in that the flow of traffic is anything but normal. 2 tankers from Qatar were recently stopped and turned away from the strait. There is a massive cloud of uncertainty hanging over the water right now. That matters because it forces the world to treat Iran with a new kind of respect. If you want your oil, you might have to play by their rules now, and those rules include how you pay for that energy. Iran is making it very clear that they want payment in Chinese Yuan. India has already started buying millions of barrels using the yuan. So what happens now for a country like India, stuck between a rock and a hard place? Will they continue this, or will the American pressure become too much to bear? Trump is already saying that sanctions on Iranian and Russian oil are back in full force. He is threatening secondary sanctions for anyone who dares to deal with them. Honestly, I don't think India will be able to keep buying from Iran under this kind of heat. Here is the reality. The Iranians are basically charging a toll for the world to pass through. It is like a highway where they own the gate and the road. Pay in yuan, pay the fee, or stay out of the water. We are right back to where we started, in a cycle of escalation that never seems to end. And then there is Donald Trump, back in the middle of the storm once again. Trump is claiming that Iran has agreed to every single one of his demands. He says they are ready to give up everything, even their nuclear dust. But wait, the Speaker of the Iranian parliament has a very different story to tell. He says Trump told 7 lies in a single hour. He is calling it a media warfare tactic designed to manipulate negotiations. This is where people misunderstand the situation, thinking a deal is close when the walls are actually closing in. Who benefits from this kind of confusion, this fog of war? Trump uses these old tactics to set a narrative that he is the master deal maker. He claims a secret deal exists, then he claims they lied later on. He did this twice before, setting a date for talks and then attacking in June. History shows us the cold truth about how these negotiations usually end up. Americans seem to have a deep-seated love for starting new conflicts when things get complicated. Risks are growing now for everyone as the blockade talk turns into action. Iran has already warned that they will take reciprocal steps if their ports are blocked. They might start attacking us ships directly if the pressure doesn't let up. Look, this is getting very dangerous, and the blockade isn't even working. Satellite images are showing the truth that the politicians want to hide. Ships are moving quite freely, and the blockade is mostly a hollow thread for the cameras. Russia understands these American tactics better than almost anyone else on Earth. They know that negotiations are often just a thin mask for a ground invasion. Putin has seen this play out in Ukraine time and time again. That changes the picture when you realize how little trust is left. There was a secret phone call between Trump and Putin recently. While they were talking, Ukraine launched a massive attack on Putin's residence. Experts are saying Trump actually authorized this assassination attempt while he had Putin on the phone. You cannot trust these leaders because they talk peace while they aim for the heart. Netanyahu is also saying that the job against Hezbollah is not finished yet. He is giving statements that suggest the ceasefire is just a breathing space. How can peace survive when both sides are just waiting for the next shot? Israel is still bombing Lebanon and Gaza even as they talk about ending the war. Trump says he stopped them, but the bombs are still falling on the innocent today. Turkey and Egypt are staying very quiet, but that silence is heavy. These are major regional players with deep historical ties to this land. Will they stay silent if the maps are redrawn once again? They want their old influence back, and the Arab world is watching Israel's every move. Bigger moves may come quite soon if the regional powers decide they have had enough. The US military has a habit of leaving when the going gets too tough. They bombed Vietnam for 8 years and then just walked away. They left Afghanistan in total shame after 20 years of failure. Now, they are doing the same thing in Iraq as we speak. When it starts to hurt, the American machine tends to cut and run. Israel cannot survive without that massive American backing. That's the bottom line. Many people refuse to believe this, thinking Israel is invincible on its own, but a point will come where the US will simply bail out of the conflict. The war is becoming far too expensive for a struggling American economy. Public opinion has shifted, and more Americans now support Palestine over Israel. Here is the reality. The American military is not the titan it used to be. Their radars are failing, and their missile stocks are running dangerously low. They are talking about using gravity bombs because they are out of tomahawks. Even their prized F-35 jets are being targeted by Iranian air defenses. The air defense they claimed was destroyed is actually hitting back hard. Look at the food they are serving to the sailors on the USS Tripoli. It looks like a poor school lunch or something you'd see in a prison. The morale on these aircraft carriers is at the absolute bottom. Sailors don't want to risk their lives when they can't even get a decent meal. Who wants to die for a cause when the supply chain is this broken? The equipment is old, the repairs are taking too long, and the morale is gone. Israel needs to see this truth before it's too late for them. They cannot expect America to back them forever when the American house is crumbling. Maybe they think they can build a greater Israel, but the timing is all wrong. Instead of taking a step back, they are pushing for more and more war. The ceasefire is a total joke, a mask for more destruction. Houses are being systematically destroyed in Lebanon to clear out the people. The army wants to stay in southern Lebanon forever as habitual genocide continues. They couldn't beat Hezbollah in a fair fight, so they attack the weak. Drones are even targeting water facilities in Gaza now. They love the sight of death and destruction, making videos of their victories. Whole villages are being wiped off the map for the cameras, and all of this is causing massive economic pain for the rest of us. Ukraine is targeting Russian oil plants to stop the profits between Israel and Ukraine. The world economy is being driven off a cliff. Europe is running out of jet fuel and flights might stop this summer. Their governments are going to fall when the people can't heat their homes. Russia was a steady partner, but the West burnt that bridge to the ground. Asia will feel the impact first, especially countries like India. We need massive amounts of energy to survive, and the supply is being choked. It will take at least 2 years to recover the energy infrastructure, but do we even have 2 years before the next war starts? Preparation is the only thing left for us now because the collapse is coming. The signs are all there if you are willing to look at them clearly. So what is really happening here is the end of the world as we knew it. That matters because the power is shifting to the east, the dollar is losing its grip, and the yuan is stepping in. The strategist sees the board, and the pieces are moving against the old king. Israel is at the center of the storm, but the storm is bigger than them. If the US fails, the whole deck of cards comes down. So in my view, we are watching a controlled demolition of the old order. If you look at the bigger picture, the alliances are being rewritten in blood and oil. This is not just a conflict. This is a strategic shift of the highest order. The next few weeks could decide everything for the next 100 years, and that may change everything forever.